Okay, so we're going to talk about Chapter 6, which is on marketing and advertising concepts. And for most of it, I'm just going to talk, but for a portion of it, I've actually got some things I'm going to show you on my screen. Okay, so let's start off with the marketing side, and I'll say I've already recorded this video once, had audio problems, so I'm having to redo the whole thing. So let's talk about advertising and marketing. So with internet e-commerce sites, we unlike regular commerce, we actually have the ability to really understand behavior and then customize the experience accordingly. So by nature of being on a computer, we have the ability to track information. And actually, this is where I'm going to show my first screen here, show you what I mean. Okay. I'll get into this a little bit later. So I can track in a website, I can track all sorts of information about my customers and their behavior because every activity can be logged. Okay. And I can set various levels of logging on a system which allows me to capture different information. Now, to be fair, in order to do that, a law, depending on the jurisdiction, I might have to adhere to certain laws. Okay, so I might have to have permissions. So, thinking about an example, things like cookies and whatnot. If I'm not permitted to track things with a cookie, I can't track things with a cookie. I may not be able to get certain details about the user, but I can get certain information about what the user is doing on the back end from logs. Okay. So specific laws, and we aren't going to talk about laws today. Those come about in a couple of chapters, but there are privacy laws that dictate what we can and can't track about the user. And so if I look at this particular example on my screen here, it may not make sense, but this is an example of me capturing metrics. Okay? And now these metrics have nothing to do with a website. They're metrics about my computer. But it's the same basic principle that I can track certain information and it's getting logged, and then I can parse information out of the log. And so let me show you that example here from one of my other classes. Oh, there it is. So here is a tool that I can use, and the tool itself is not important, but it's a business intelligence tool that allows me to extract information. This level of data is the exact same stuff that's over here in a machine readable format. Okay, I can then extract and click on things. I can search for things just like Google, okay? And I can save the searches that I do to run reports. So in this case, I can set up a variety of dashboards and just capture data. So I can see that this system had 1,649 hits. Okay. To get that same level of data over here, I would have to find whatever value I am searching on and then count the number of times that occurs in this log file, okay, which is pretty difficult. Okay? I'd have to go and figure out, how I would do that, maybe write some software to do that, etc. Okay? So logging is a way for us to capture information and track it for the user, as well as allow us to personalize the experience, including from a marketing perspective. But again, laws and regulations may come into play and really restrict what we can do from a marketing perspective. So just because technically we can capture information about a user doesn't mean that we are actually permitted to do so. Okay? And so one of the things that you might have to do is, all things being equal, knowing what the laws are, you might have to put technological measures in place to ensure that if a user does not explicitly grant consent, you will not track them in what they do. Okay? Now, the usage of the internet has significantly grown in terms of how much time do people spend doing things on the internet. That has grown significantly. These days, it is not uncommon to be walking across the street with your phone in front of your face. Okay, we use our phones, our computers, whatever computing device it is, and we are constantly connected to the internet. It wasn't always that way, though. Okay. Now, the other thing that's happened is demographics on the internet have changed in the U.S. in particular. So, when the World Wide Web first got started back in the 90s, it was generally single, white, young, college-educated males on the internet, generally speaking. Now, and also the other thing was they generally had high incomes. Okay? That is not the case anymore. Okay, we have young people, old people, people in between. We have men, we have women, we have every race and ethnicity you can imagine. And especially with COVID, we now have even younger individuals on the internet. We also have a lot of homebound senior citizens who might not otherwise have gotten on the internet, can't go anywhere, so the kids get them an iPhone so they can FaceTime, or the kids get them an iPad, whatever it is. Okay. Now, we also have things like internet connectivity. So, internet connectivity has changed, and that can drive changes to behavior. So, if I am on a dial-up connection, and it costs me per minute to be connected to the internet, and it's a long-distance call, then I'm going to connect to the internet, download my email, and disconnect from the internet as quickly as possible. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the internet. That's the behavior of what it was like in the 1990s to be on the internet. Unless you knew someone who had a high-speed internet connection, which were incredibly expensive. I used to work in high school and college. I had a friend who started an internet provider. I think like a Comcast type company. And he provided dial-up internet to a rural area. It was incredibly expensive for people to get on the internet in those days. People didn't generally spend a lot of time online. Okay. You would get online, download your email to your computer, read it later. You would know ahead of time what website you were going to go to look something up. You wouldn't go download a bunch of pictures. That would take too long. And those internet connections were extremely costly. So what we paid for the equivalent of not even what my phone has, just thinking like 1/60th, 60 of what the internet speed is on my phone, we paid about $10,000 a month for our business to have, not my business, but his business, $10,000 a month for one internet line, and he had multiple. Okay. Can you imagine, for just slightly faster than a dial-up speed, paying $10,000 a month for internet? Okay. There was no such thing as DSL. There was no such thing as cable internet. They hadn't been invented yet. Okay. Maybe they were in the labs, but they hadn't been released to the public yet. Then in the late 90s, early 2000s, DSL and cable internet really started to grow significantly. Okay. And so now it's possible for people to get relatively affordable, relatively fast internet. Now people start spending more time online. Okay. And they do more when they're online too. So we might go and just start randomly surfing websites, going from one path to another. We might go and start doing transactions online. We might read our email online, which means now banner advertisements and our email are a possibility. Okay? So we spend more time online, but not for everybody. Okay? We still have this concept of some areas have broadband, a lot of other areas do not. They still have dial-up in a lot of areas. I worked on the East Coast in a supporting role for a federal agency, and we had to dial up to connect to things in those days. And I lived, well, on a good day, 2.5 hours each way. On a bad day, 4 to 5 hours each way from the office. Not important why, not because I wanted to, just crap happens sometimes. So we would get snowstorms, and I would get snowed in because I lived in the mountains, and I would have to work from home. And in those days, I didn't want to work from home, but I had no choice when the weather was really bad. I would have to dial in to do things. It was incredibly painful to do that in those days. The area I was in was extremely rural. Finally, we got broadband internet, and now I can start surfing the web. But I still can't stream things. This is long before streaming was a thing. I can go to websites. They load reasonably fast, a couple of minutes, and I have a whole website with a bunch of photos and stuff on it. But we're still talking early broadband connections, so not super powerful. In the 2000s, there was a huge investment in broadband, and we really started to expand it across the country. But as recently as 7-8 years ago, where I grew up didn't have broadband. They do now, but they didn't when 7-8 years ago. So there's a lot of the population that doesn't have the same level of access. So if you're marketing and sending a bunch of ads to someone on a slow connection, you're going to piss them off. You're not going to get them to actually buy your product. You're going to piss them off. So you certainly don't want to do that. So you've got to be mindful of those types of connections when you're thinking about how do you market to your audience and what is the consumer behavior going to be. People with a slow internet are not going to be shopping online, period. Okay. Now, also people in rural areas, they're less likely to shop online if it's costly for them to have the product delivered or dropped off to them. Okay? So if you're in a rural area and it takes 3 days to get a package, you're not going to be having anybody buying groceries online. What's the point? Right? Everything's going to be spoiled by the time you get it. So the e-commerce opportunities in the rural areas are much lower until they reach a point where they've got a fast enough connection and the logistics capabilities catches up. So when you're thinking about an e-commerce business, you've got to be thinking about not only the speed of the person's internet connection, but their behavior. Are they likely to purchase if logistically it takes 2 weeks to buy something and they could just drive to the next town and go pick it up themselves? Okay. Now, we take things for granted because most of us live in an urban area or suburban area. We take things for granted. It's more convenient for us to order something online and have it delivered. It's more convenient for us to go watch a movie on Netflix than to go to the video store and Redbox or whatever. Or to go to Walmart and buy a DVD. But that's not the case in other areas of the country or even in the world. So sometimes when we're thinking about what is our e-commerce endeavor going to look like, we actually have to take a step back and think about what it's like to be in someone else's shoes. And what is that experience like for them? Okay? And then the next thing here is community effects. So social networking and contagion. I like to use terminology from a previous employer, the network effect. Okay? So, excuse me, if you have a strong following, then you're going to end up with people more likely to purchase things, more likely to follow you than if you have a small following. Okay? So the more followers, the more people want to follow you, the more likely you can market that to them, the more likely you're going to bring in more people, the more likely you're going to sell to those people. Okay? All right, so from a consumer behavior, and so consumer behavior is a discipline that models and understands the behavior of humans in a marketplace. Okay? So we have independent demographic variables, cultural standards, social situations, psychological variables, okay? All about the customer's background. Okay? Then we have intervening variables. So this can be market, brand, marketing, capabilities of the company involved, social networks, etc. Okay? And then we can have dependent variables, which are in-store behavior and buyer decisions. Because remember, we could start the transaction online and then move to the store to complete it. There have actually been times I've bought things online, gone to pick it up, realized I needed something else, or there was a better deal and returned it while I was there. Like literally, said, I don't want this now, I want something different. Okay. That's happened to me at the Apple Store when I forgot that you can't do the education discount always online, or employer discounts. Same thing. Okay. Now, the consumer decision-making process, we start with brand recognition and awareness. We think about what items are out there. What brands are out there? Gosh, I'm feeling thirsty right now. Gosh, I know Pepsi and Coke are out there. Okay. Incidentally, students always tell me they think I'm a Pepsi drinker. I really don't care. I just happened to go someplace for lunch today, and that's what they have is Pepsi. But Pepsi and Coke taste pretty much the same to me. On the awareness side, we have targeted display ads. We could have email ads. We have social media. We have TV on the offline side. Newspapers, magazines, although not so much anymore. Okay. Radio, again, not so much anymore. Then the consumer might search. So they might say, gosh, I want a beverage. I'm aware of Pepsi and Coke, but maybe I'm not feeling like a soda. Maybe I want something different. So does Coke have a soda alternative? Okay. I search for something like that. And then maybe they do, maybe they don't. Okay. Then I look at the alternatives. Well, I'm thirsty. I want something ice cold. Normally I would get a soda. Maybe I want a flavored water instead. Let me think about the opportunities there. Let me evaluate the alternatives. Maybe I look at product reviews and I find out that the seltzer water from Coke tastes like garbage. Okay. Well, maybe I don't want to take that chance today. I'm really thirsty. Let me just go grab a soda. Then I go ahead and I do my purchase. So I might purchase at full value like I did at lunch today. I might go for a promotion and realize that, hey, I've got a coupon to Subway. So I'm standing here at Jersey Mike's, but maybe I should go over to Subway because I have a coupon. And then I'm like, no, I'm too lazy. I don't feel like doing that. And maybe Jersey Mike's recognizes that I've got the Subway app on my phone somehow, possible, and offers me, sends me a text message or something, or pops up an app in the Jersey Mike's, or a notification in the Jersey Mike's app that, hey, I see that you like Subway, but the Jersey Mike's sub is better. Come try it out. Here's a coupon for $1 off. Vice versa, Subway could detect that I'm close to Jersey Mike's using their app and market to me and say, with a targeted advertisement of some sort, saying, hey, you get your sub free if you come over to Subway right now. Just buy the cookie. Okay. And then post-purchase behavior and loyalty. So what do we do after we've made a transaction to ensure loyalty? So what is Pepsi going to do? Going back to my example here, what is Pepsi going to do to get me to keep coming back to buy Pepsi versus Coke? As I already told you, I'm not brand loyal with respect to these. I actually don't even generally drink this kind of Pepsi, but they didn't have the kind I wanted. So now let's talk a little bit more. So there are different types of shoppers. There are those who buy, and those are those who browse. Okay, and then there are those who don't do anything. Okay, so online buyers, 80% approximately are buyers. They will buy something online. Okay? About a little over 12% will shop online, find something, but they won't buy it online for a variety of reasons. Okay? And then there's a very small percentage, less than 8%, that don't shop online and they don't buy online. Okay? So why would someone not shop online? A trust factor. Okay? Maybe they fear their credit card's going to get stolen. Maybe they fear they'll get cheated and the item won't show up. Maybe they think that their privacy will be invaded. Okay? Maybe they think it's a hassle. Okay? Well, shipping's too expensive. Returns are a hassle, etc. Oh, I can't touch and feel the product. Okay? Let me tell you how some of the organizations are counteracting this. Okay? First of all, shipping costs. A lot of merchants are doing things for free. Because they're shipping at such high volumes, they're rolling the cost of shipping into a cost of doing business. So sometimes you don't even have to pay shipping. Okay? And you say, well, they're going to lose money. Well, not necessarily. If they're smart about it, they roll that into their profit margin for the item. So now that shipping cost is hidden from the user. And I don't know about you, but psychologically, when something's got free shipping, I'm more attracted than if I have to pay $50 for shipping. Okay? I don't necessarily look at the cost of the item and notice that there's a shipping cost built in. Because prices can vary from store to store. Okay? Now, Amazon Prime takes care of the shipping, free shipping. You pay an annual fee, you get free shipping. Okay? You get other things as well. Now, returns. How do you streamline the return process so you can take away that friction there? Okay? Well, you can have return shipping where you just print a label and you leave it on your doorstep and the UPS people come pick it up and take it away. That's one way. Amazon's taken another approach. They've partnered with Kohl's to allow you to do returns at Kohl's. And it's actually very frictionless. I just bring the item. It doesn't matter if I have the box or not. I just bring the item. I say I want to return it online. I get a QR code. I walk up to the Kohl's desk and I give them the item. I show them my phone, the barcode. They scan it. They print me a receipt. They print a label for the item. They package it up in a large box that goes back on a pallet to Amazon. Amazon has to deal with it. And this is the part that I think is really cool, Kohl's, what do they get out of it? Well, I imagine that Amazon's paying for the cost of their staff that are managing that desk. I have no idea, but I'm guessing so, that there's some sort of monetary compensation. But the other aspect of what's going on is that they are working on bringing you into the store to do a return, but also to sell you something else. So Kohl's gives you a 25% off coupon that you can use for something in the store, either while you're there or within a week after your return. So now they're taking, and yes, they're giving you some discount, but it's a very low cost way for them to bring you, you're coming to the store anyways to return something. Now they've got you in there, 25% off. Maybe I should go ahead and buy something. Gosh, I'm looking at this stuff in the store and I really want to buy it. Okay? So it can be a very effective way to convert someone who is returning something. Amazon wins because now Amazon doesn't have to pay the return shipping on it. It's probably cheaper for them to have it go to Kohl's and go back in bulk on a truck than it is to ship things individually. But it's also helping Kohl's out from an e-commerce perspective because now they have the ability to either someone's going to redeem that coupon on their website or they're going to be in the store there and they're going to buy something. So they are actually winning as well. Now, what do consumers buy online? Originally, in the early days, small ticket items. Okay? Maybe a toaster, a pair of shoes, a book, a movie, that sort of thing. Okay? These days, very common to have a refrigerator, a car, dishwasher, big TV, whatever it might be. Okay? Furniture even. Okay? So it's really changed in terms of what people will buy online. There were times when people wouldn't buy certain things online, for a variety of reasons. Okay, so now let's talk about next. In terms of credibility of a website, there was a time when it was very difficult because it was early in the days of e-commerce. Websites weren't necessarily trusted. These days, a lot of times you go to a website, you buy something, you don't even think about it. But marketplaces like eBay, shouldn't say Amazon, but eBay, they're built on a trust model. Okay, and I just started selling some stuff I didn't need anymore on eBay, and I hadn't done it in a long time, but it works out pretty well. I always hope that I only sell to people who are highly rated. Okay? So I don't run into issues. And I certainly only buy from people that are highly rated. Same thing with Amazon, by the way, when you're dealing with marketplace sellers. If you're given a choice of merchants, I bet most of you look at the merchant's reputation And if they have, anything less than like a 95%, you probably move on to the next merchant on the list to see who you might want to buy from, even if it's more money. I know I do. If I've seen that someone's had problems, you know what? I don't care if I'm saving 50 cents. I'm going to go to the next one because 50 cents is not worth it for the hassle. Okay. Digital marketing. So we can do websites. We talked about that already. You have your, you have your website that you created for your assignment in the class. Okay. That's one way. You can have a website that is an anchor to your business and brings in customers. Incidentally, you can also have marketing microsites. And these are used a lot in industry for if we want to have a site for a particular product. Okay? And so the company I work for has a lot of product-focused marketing sites. Okay? And they draw you into that particular product. Then you've got things like online marketing, so you can do search engine marketing. Okay? When I search for a term, I can buy the keywords for that particular terminology, and I can get placed at the top of the search results. Okay? I could do banner ad or display advertising on websites. I could do email-based marketing. And then to a lesser extent, this is less popular now, but in the beginning, this is how a lot of sites got started, Amazon included. Using affiliates. So use affiliates to draw traffic to your own site. You pay the affiliate some sort of commission. Back when Amazon was barely, past the twinkle in Jeff Bezos' eye, I was an Amazon affiliate on one of my first websites. Okay. Did I make any money doing it? Absolutely not, because my site had no traffic. But in those days, I thought I might make some money. And so I set up a bunch of affiliate links on my website to try to send things to Amazon. So did every other website out there. Okay. That becomes less important as you're an established brand that people actually go to first. Social marketing, so we could advertise on social networks. We could have advertisements through blogs or run a blog ourselves. Okay. And then we can do things like video marketing in YouTube, video game marketing, and things like Twitch. Okay. We can do mobile marketing as part of our digital marketing strategy. So let's have a mobile-focused marketing aspect for our mobile devices. We could even have apps that we develop for the purpose of driving people to our website and other properties that we own. And then, of course, we can have the offline marketing aspects, things like the TV ads and newspapers and things like that. Okay. We use our website as a means to really provide a phenomenal customer experience. That's the end goal. Okay. If we have a phenomenal customer experience on our website, it's going to drive more revenue from a e-commerce perspective, but it's also going to drive repeat customers and brand loyalty. Those loyal customers are going to go back, tell all their friends to go use our website, and we're going to just keep driving more revenue. If our website sucks and the experience sucks, our customers are going to tell their friends, and their friends are not going to come to our site, and we're not going to have repeat customers. Okay. Now, online advertising, we can pay for a message to go onto some sort of medium, and I've talked about a few examples of that already. Okay. We can do search engine marketing. So we use a search engine to build and establish our brand. We can do search engine advertising. This is where we take search engines to support direct sales online for our organization. Okay. Now, I really recommend that you read 362 through 367. Yeah, 367. Specifically about some of the specific areas you can do with search engine optimization and other forms of e-marketing. Okay. Now, we can have situations like direct email marketing, although these days, how many of you like getting spam? Probably not a lot of you. I know I dislike it. So direct email marketing can be a little challenging, especially if we're just bombarding people. Now, if it's targeted, that can be really great, but if it's not targeted, we have probably a greater chance of winning the lottery than we do of closing a deal with email marketing. And I will use a real life example. So someone email marketed me this morning. Okay. They started off with the social media marketing through LinkedIn. I wasn't about to accept a connection request from someone I didn't really know. So I declined and told them if they wanted to contact me, just email me what they wanted to ask me, which they did. They emailed me, and there's a couple of issues with what they emailed me. Number one is they clearly didn't understand our business because we have a product that I would consider competitive in a way. So, at least to some extent. So that kind of baffled me. Their message was extremely verbose, and you could tell it was not customized for me. Number three, they got my name wrong, even though they knew my name from LinkedIn and my email address. And then the fourth issue was they attached a piece of marketing material, and I kind of want to laugh a bit, ha ha ha, about it being marketing material, because really what it was an essay with some terrible graphics wrapped around the outside of it. I wouldn't consider it marketing material. It was very text heavy. They clearly didn't know how to get a concise message across for their particular product. So if you are going to use email marketing, get the people's name right that you're sending it to, tailor the message to the person, and you can automate this so you don't have to do this manually. You can make it look like it's a personalized email. If you're going to attach additional material, then make it worth my time to look at it. Make it eye-catching, concise, to the point. You can always go into the details later on. And having dealt with, I'm not a marketing person myself, but having seen what a great marketing team can come up with, I was not impressed with this organization. So what, would I purchase anything from them? Not at all. Okay? And so they missed out on a potential opportunity. Okay? Because I'd like to think that maybe based on what they sell, we might have been a candidate for what they were trying to sell, absent a lot of other factors. All right, spam is unsolicited email. So if it's unsolicited email, chances are it's going to get you put on a list that you don't want to be on as an organization, where you're not going to be able to send email. Okay. Also related to spam, we are not going to be able to keep doing unsolicited email and get away with it. We have privacy laws in California now that are supposed to help with spam. I would see in the future we might have additional privacy laws. Incidentally, there's a privacy law in the, I don't know if you consider it a privacy law or not. It's touted as a privacy proposition here in California, and you'd have to read it to see what you think about it. I don't even know what to think about it, but it's supposedly some sort of privacy law that's being voted on right now. And so, you might want to educate yourself on that, because laws like that will impact you if you're a marketer. Okay. Viral marketing, having viral marketing campaigns. So an example that I've seen lately is the new Borat movie is everywhere. Everywhere I turn, there's a Borat marketing tie-in. There was another example. I can't think of it right now, but there was another example recently of viral marketing. So viral marketing campaigns are when we are trying to get our customers or prospects to help us with marketing things to other people. Okay. Moving on. All right, personalization. So we try to personalize things. So we can personalize our marketing for an individual. So, if I know a bit about my customer, then I can try to personalize the marketing experience. Okay. I can also do customization. And customization of the product is where I have a product and I've customized it for a specific customer. And so we don't change the marketing, we just change the product based on user preferences. And an example of this is I have a friend who built software for Shopify, Shopify being an e-commerce platform. He built a piece of software that allows personalization of items using like a laser engraver or whatever tool you might have. You connect it to a computer, customer goes online to the website, the Shopify allows them to personalize their name, and then that personalization is automatically laid out in a design file for them. The design file gets sent off with the order to whatever machine you run, and now you've got automated personalization of everything that you sell on your website, whether it's, a purse gets monogrammed with the person's name, you sell an iPad case and now it's got, monogrammed initials or something on it, that sort of thing. Okay. Customer service, from the e-commerce side, we want to make sure we have a really great customer service perspective. So let's figure out a way to really cater to our customers' needs. So companies have FAQs of all the common issues. When I worked in customer service a long time ago, we were constantly developing our FAQ. If a customer asked a question, we would answer it and add it to our FAQ. And then the next time the customer asked it, everybody knew what the answer was already. We didn't have to look it up. And second of all, the customer could go out to the website and self-service. Okay. Real-time chat systems. So these are becoming very popular. Erica is an example from Bank of America. You ask Erica a question, Erica acts just like a person of giving you a response to help you out. Okay. Slack bots are another example that companies are starting to use. We can actually have a chat bot that responds to our customer requests. Okay. And then automated response systems. So when we have an issue, we get an automated response just initially saying, thank you, we appreciate your request. We got your request about X. We're going to get back to you within 24 hours. And now I know they got my message. They haven't responded to it yet, but at least I feel better knowing that they got my message. Okay. All right. And then automated response systems. So either emails that go out or even voice response systems when I want something. Okay. All right. Let's talk about pricing and different product versions. So we can do price discrimination, where we sell products to different people in different groups based on their willingness to pay. And a great example from my own life is my internet. Okay. When I bought my internet a few years ago, I paid a premium for a very high speed. But over time, that high speed became the normal speed that everybody else got. So I was paying $200 a month, but one of the leaders of the company I work for, they're paying $45 for the same service, and they're only an hour away from me, okay? And that's because I was willing to pay it. So they charged me a different fee. And then when I called them, they gave me a better price, not as good as I would have liked, but better than what I was paying, so I took it. They realized I wasn't willing to pay the price anymore. But my neighbor across the street's still paying that price. And that's because he's unwilling to call and deal with perhaps the line of people. So we might sell different versions to different people and have different prices. Versioning. So this really applies with information goods. So I could sell the same product to different markets at different prices. Okay. So I might offer a service for free, and then I have a premium version for a different price. Okay. And that might not be that big of a difference between them. Bundling, when we give a discount for bundling different things together. Okay. We can also have dynamic pricing. The airline industry works this way, by the way. So we have pricing that changes based on supply and demand. When nobody's flying, guess what? That pricing's pretty darn low. Did you know you can get tickets for $29, $39 each way on an airplane to Florida right now? You can't. Don't know whether you'd fly or not, but hey, you can get the pricing because dynamic pricing, nobody wants the tickets right now. Okay. Transaction logging. So this is what I was getting to earlier, where we've got logs here, and I actually have I think a web server log on this machine. Oops. Okay, so I have a web server log. Oops. And in my access log, this is what a normal web server would look like. I'd be able to see what the customer's IP address is. Okay. By the way, that's not a public IP address, so it's not anything that would be helpful to me. Date and time. Okay. Time zone even. What were they doing? And what was my server's response to them? Okay. A 404, a 500, those are error messages that would be bad. 200 is fine. That's an okay message. And there might be other information like the browser and whatnot. Okay. And I don't have any errors to look at in my error log. If there were errors, I can look at those. Okay. So I can see in the log potentially information about the customer. And again, how much data is in that log to actually be able to look at is fully dependent on your application that you're running and what permissions you have from the user to collect data. Okay. All right. Moving on. Cookies. So cookies are a way, they're a little file on your computer. They're a way for you to track information about a user. Okay. So if the user refuses the use of cookies, you're not going to be able to capture and store information about that user on their machine. Okay. So I would imagine that because of these new privacy laws, this is going to force a change to the way that businesses think about the way that they manage their customers. Okay. Databases. So once you have the customer information, that information might go into a database. So say you're doing a transaction, you're going to have a transactional database. The transactional database will have everything about the transaction so you can fulfill it. Okay. And so a database is effectively a way of storing records and metadata associated with those records. Okay. We use what's called a database management system, or DBMS. It's a software application that we use to create, maintain, and access databases. And so a database itself, an example might be the Student Information Systems database, okay, where it stores all your records about your grades. Okay. The DBMS that runs on might be Oracle or Microsoft SQL Server or MySQL or MariaDB or MongoDB, some sort of database management system. Okay. And I happen to know that the Student Information System used to run on Oracle. I don't know if it still does or not. So then the application that runs that database uses something called SQL, or Structured Query Language. It's the language used to interact with that database. Okay? And so SQL allows us to communicate with the database, read data from the database, write data, modify data, etc. Okay? Now, relational databases, which is what I'm mostly referring to, the only one I mentioned that was not a relational database would be MongoDB. Relational databases use the concept of a table with columns and rows. Okay? And so we organize common values into a table. Okay? And then we have a relationship between different tables, so we can do SQL queries that pull data from multiple tables together. If you were in my BUS174 class, you know precisely what I'm talking about because we went through this. If you didn't go through my Business 101 class, well, My Business 101 class is posted on my YouTube channel. You should be able to see it as a playlist. And in there, there's a video about databases. Might be worthwhile taking the time to watch it. I think it's no more than an hour long. Okay? We can have data warehouses where we collect all of our transactional and customer data together into one place, and we do analysis there, as opposed to doing analysis on the live running transactional system. Because if we did a report and we tried to run it against our operational system, we would either slow that down to a crawl or make it where customers couldn't actually do transactions. So for a very long time now, e-commerce running databases, the transactional databases, have been separate from the warehouse where you do the analysis at. Okay. We can do big data. So we have a large set of data of different types. We just compile it all together in one place. We build what's called a data warehouse. Okay, and then that data warehouse, we use software called Hadoop or other similar software to be able to work with large data sets. Okay, and so most organizations these days of any size have a data warehouse. Okay. Now, marketing automation systems allow us to track all processes related to marketing and sales. CRM or customer relationship management systems, again, something you should have learned in Biz 101. I sincerely hope you did. If not, there is another video from Biz 101. You can find it on my YouTube channel. And that relates to the Enterprise Information Systems unit. Okay? And in that unit, we talk about CRMs as one type of an enterprise information system. And so a CRM, marketing automation system, that is something like Salesforce. And so Salesforce is what we can use to do marketing and sales. Okay? Keep track of all that. All right. Starting on page 404 and going all the way through to 412 is a lot of detail around terminology related to marketing. So you should go familiarize yourself with all of that terminology. Now, that is it for Chapter 6. When we get to Chapter 7, what we're going to talk about is social media management as the next step. Okay, and then mobile management or mobile marketing, local marketing, etc. And then once we wrapped up that unit, the next thing that we will cover is an area that I think is interesting: the ethical issues and political/legal issues of e-commerce. So 2 chapters from now is when we're going to talk about privacy laws, privacy rights. We will talk about the CCPA here in California. We will talk about the GDPR in Europe. And we might even get a chance to talk about that new ballot measure, which I'm not even familiar with. But we can talk a little bit about that and other initiatives that have been proposed to deal with privacy. And also, I think we will also talk about how I highly doubt the U.S. as a whole will ever have a federal level privacy law in place, just given the polar opposite spectrum we have in our political system these days. I just can't fathom a day when everybody comes together and agrees on a privacy law that restricts what businesses can do. I can see one side of the aisle being all for that. I can see the other side saying, no, wait a minute, I don't think this is a good idea. So it was tough enough for Europe to do such a thing. I don't think that we will see that here in the U.S. Now, I would love to be proved wrong, but I don't think that's going to happen. Okay? So the best we can hope for is at a state level, we have sensible laws that are developed and put on the books. Right? So that is it for this week's material. And if you have any questions, please bring them to the Q&A session next week.